Hi guys! So today's video is going to be in English because we are going to talk linguistics, which is kind of complex, and I want to make sure that everyone can understand because it's really vital to learning French. So basically, the French language, and like any language really, is built on storytelling and narratives. And today I want to explain the verbal system, through that. Because I have so many students who have come to me and told me like, okay, Lucille, you know what? I get the tenses. I know how to conjugate them. I've learned those annoying rules about when I should use one or the other. But like, why do you have so many? I can't visualize. I don't understand the global system. And I don't know how it works. And it makes it difficult sometimes to choose which tense I need, because sometimes I feel like several could be possible and I just don't know. And usually when students say that to me, I'm like, honestly, if you feel like several tenses are possible, there might be. And the difference is probably just one nuance. That is actually kind of important. So that's what I want to explain today. So the verbal system through storytelling to help you to choose properly and understand how it works. So when you want to speak French, the first thing you need to choose is what we call mode. It's kind of basically a universe, if you will. Basically, you have 4 of them in the conjugated verbal system. So you have the infinitive, which is the mode of reality. But again, this is all about storytelling and narrative, which means it's reality as perceived by the speaker. So let's say I'm making a sentence, okay? If I believe something to be true, even though it's like completely false, I'm still gonna use indicative. And I said infinitive earlier, I believe, so sorry about that. It's indicative. So if I believe something is true, I'm gonna use indicative. If I know something is wrong, but I want you to believe it's true, I'm gonna use indicative. And so on. Also, if I want to be manipulative and I want you to think that I think something is true, like, you can go like that a very long way. But the idea is that often you learn that, indicative is reality, but that's not exactly it. It's only reality as the speaker sees it. That's why I'm saying it's storytelling and narratives. It's reality, but only for the speaker. So it might be completely untrue. But in any case, if you want to use reality, you go for the indicative mode. It's like the main mode where you have like présent, passé composé, passé imparfait, futur simple, all of those ones. Then the second mode is subjunctive, which usually is kind of a pet peeve for many learners. So subjunctive, one is kind of annoying to conjugate, but that's only one thing. In terms of the system, subjunctive is the self. So it's gonna be like emotions, doubts, fears, stuff like that, stuff that I want you to do that. That's gonna be subjunctive. Because it all comes from me. It's really about the self and what the speaker wants. The speaker or whomever you're speaking about. Like it could be Marc veut que tu ailles au supermarché. I don't know. So Marc is not me, but I'm just saying what he wants. It's still about self. So it's more related to the subject than the narrator, but you get what I mean. Then the third mode is conditional. So conditional and subjunctive both are virtual. Like it's not real. But like I said, subjunctive is really about the self. Conditional is about condition, but mostly from the outside. An external conditions. It could be like, I don't know, if the weather is nice, if I have enough money, stuff like that. And finally, the last mode is imperative, which is a bit less used because basically in this one, you're kind of the boss. So you're just going to tell people what to do. It's like, so it's mostly used by like teachers, parents, bosses, and stuff like that, where you just go like, do that. So, to sum up, first step is choosing your mode among those 4. based on whether it's a reality, something from the self, an exterior condition, or if you're giving an order or a piece of advice. Then within each mode, you get tenses. So past, future, present. And for each of those, you're going to have two possibilities. Okay? So that's where we really get into the storytelling. So the idea is to choose your tense. You need to think about what you want the other person to visualize. Whenever you say something, like if you say something to me, I'm gonna picture something in my mind, right? So that's the key. The key is, what do you want them to visualize in their mind? And you have two possibilities, only two. You can visualize the consequence of the action, or you can visualize the process. So if you want to visualize the consequence of your action, you need to use the composed tenses, okay? The composed tenses, so they are all the tenses that have two verbs. One of them is always être or avoir. And the participe passé. For instance, for the past, in indicative mode, you will use passé composé. J'ai mangé. For future, for instance, you will use the futur antérieur, so it's like j'aurais mangé. So let's say I tell you, viens chez moi demain à 20h, j'aurai mangé. Well, if I say that to you, when you're gonna show up at my house, you will be fully expecting me to have eaten. I'm done. Like, the dishes are done, it's all over. And now, as soon as you arrive, we can, watch a movie or whatever. However, if I use the simple tense, so futur simple, viens chez moi à 20h, je mangerai, then that means that I will eat when you arrive at 8. So, that's a kind of an important nuance to make, because it's a change of plans. Either we eat before meeting, or we will eat together. So, yeah. So simple tenses are used for the process. Because if I say je mangerai, I'm going to visualize, you're going to visualize me eating at 8. If I say j'aurai mangé, you're going to visualize me being done eating by 8. And still on this idea, for the past, like I said, so j'ai mangé, but if I use imparfait, which is a simple tense, and I say, hier, je mangeais quand, whatever, then you're going to visualize me eating, and then you're going to expect something that's going to interrupt my eating, because eating is just not interesting enough as an action to just visualize it. So usually you use it with something that interrupts it, or something specific about it, because otherwise it's just very boring. But that's the idea. If I say je mangeais, then you visualize me eating. If I say j'ai mangé, then you don't. Another example I like to give is fixing the car. Like, if I say hier Paul réparait ma voiture, you're visualizing Paul just like, trying to fix the car, maybe being like, annoying, whatever. But we don't actually know if he's fixed it or not. We just know he was fixing it at some point yesterday. That's it. That's what matters. What matters is Paul fixing the car, and then, yeah, the story is gonna go on. If I say hier Paul a réparé ma voiture, in that case, what I visualize is Paul standing next to the fixed car, and here what matters is my car is now fixed, and I can do stuff, So I hope you see my point here, but that's basically how it works. And that's how it works for all the other modes as well. So I gave you here examples of the indicative, but it works the exact same way for subjunctive. I know you hate subjunctive, but bear with me. Basically, and here we again have those nuances mostly with time and stuff. Like, if I tell you je veux que tu répares ma voiture demain soir quand je rentre. In that case, when I go home, if you haven't fixed the car, I can't blame you, because I said je veux que tu répares ma voiture. I use a simple tense, one word, and that means you don't have to do it before I come home. You have to do it now, in the evening. Now that I'm home, you have to fix the car. But I didn't ask you to do it before. However, if I focus on the consequence, if I use a composed tense, and if I say je veux que tu aies réparé ma voiture demain soir quand je rentre, then if I come home and you haven't fixed my car, I can absolutely get mad at you because I told you to do it before I come home. When I come home, I want to see the consequence, not the process. So that's why it's important. That's how it can help you choose between the two possibilities, composed or simple tense, consequence or process. For conditional, you have the same idea but a little bit different. Basically, conditional simple, conditionnel présent, it's stuff like si j'étais toi, je ferais autrement. So that means like you're doing something and I'm just kind of like judging you. I'm a bit like, I wouldn't do it like that. I would do it differently, but yeah. But technically, you can still apply my advice. You can still choose to be like, oh yeah, you're right, and then change it because you are in the process. However, if I use the composed tense, and if I say si j'étais toi, j'aurais fait autrement, then here it's too late to change. I'm just like, judging what you did, but we already know the consequence of that. And I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. So here it's too late to actually change anything because we are already within the consequence. We are no longer in the process. And finally, for imperative, it works also, but it's very, very less used. Mostly because basically imperative in the composed tense is really not something that we use a lot because it's used with subjunctive, and most of the time people are just going to make a full subjunctive sentence rather than an imperative sentence. So you can only hear it like maybe, I don't know, like from parents who are kind of pissed off by the kids. Like maybe like, et manger quand je reviens or something, but it sounds a bit weird. It can happen. So what I mean with imperative is it works on the same idea. If I say et manger quand je reviens, you better be done eating when I come back. And if I say mange quand je reviens, then you will eat only when I come back and you should not eat before. So it's once again one of those nuances, but yeah, I will admit it is not very used anymore, but it still works on the same pattern. So basically, that's what I wanted to show you today, is how with that one question of what do you want people to visualize, process or consequence, you can basically choose the right tense. So two tenses I did not mention here. Plus que parfait, as you know, is used for like something that even further in the past. So it's kind of out of the system. You always use it if something you're speaking about something in the past and then you go even further back, then it's always going to be plus que parfait. That's just how it is. And the other one I did not mention is passé simple, because passé simple is not in the system, to be honest. This one is really just that weird ass tense that you only find in novels. And that's it. You don't use it. We don't speak with it. We don't write emails or anything with it. It's only used for actual books. But for all the other tenses, as you see, it works. So that's really something I encourage you to do when you're kind of blocked. Just try to imagine whether you want people to visualize. And as I said, keep in mind that it's all about what the narrator wants to say. So you don't have to use indicative for only actually real stuff. You can absolutely lie. Same thing for all the other tenses. You can completely lie, mislead. Language is also kind of about manipulation if you think about it. And it even goes as far as, this is outside the verbal system, but sometimes I'm going to ask a question, but it's not a question. Like if I tell you, okay, hey, can you take the trash out? I'm not actually asking you, like, do you have the capacity of taking the trash out? I'm telling you, do it now. I'm just doing it in a very polite way, basically. Yeah, basically that's it for this video. Let me know if it was interesting. Let me know if it was clear. I know it's kind of a complex subject, so I really hope I was able to make it as clear as possible. Please ask any question you might have in the comments, and I will reply to them. I don't always see notifications, but I will reply to them as soon as I see them. And if you liked this, like, learning French through storytelling, then please let me know, because I can do other videos. Like, this was a verbal system, but I can do other videos based on other grammatical subjects, because, well, linguistics, not grammatical. But basically, all French linguistics can be learned through that lens of storytelling and narratives. So if you want more videos like that, please do let me know, and I absolutely will do more.